You know that feeling when you first sit down at your desk in the morning, coffee in hand, and you just open up your email inbox?
Oh, it is a total flood.
It really is. Just this relentless barrage of messages screaming for your attention, like urgent sales event or, don't miss out.
Right, act fast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And most of us have built this sort of muscle memory for it. We just hit select all, mark as read, or send the whole batch straight to the trash. We are completely numb to it.
Absolutely numb.
And today, we're taking a look at a specific industry that gets this phenomenally, consistently wrong, despite sitting on, honestly, one of the most valuable data assets imaginable.
It's a huge missed opportunity.
It really is. We are talking about automotive dealerships, why their approach to email marketing is fundamentally broken, and how a complete shift in strategy can turn all that digital noise into real, profitable conversations. Brought to you by DeskReadyLeads.com. If your dealership is tired of leads with no context, no intent, and no real reason to buy, it may be time for a different approach. Visit DeskReadyLeads.com to see how we can help your dealership generate better conversations with buyers who actually have a reason to engage.
It's such a fascinating dynamic to pull apart, honestly, because email should absolutely be one of the most powerful tools inside any dealership.
Right.
And not because it's some new cutting-edge technology, and definitely not because a vendor built some flashy dashboard and labeled it lifecycle automation.
Oh, right. All the buzzwords.
Exactly. It should work because that CRM database is an absolute gold mine. We're talking about a captive market of people who already know the business.
Right. This isn't cold traffic. It's not a rented list or, a random audience targeted by some algorithm.
Not at all.
The CRM is filled with past buyers, people who serviced their vehicles there, people who submitted leads or appraised trades, people who started credit applications, leases.
The list goes on.
But instead of treating that database like this exclusive, highly qualified market, dealerships tend to treat it like a trash can for generic sales blasts.
Which is, the core mechanism behind why so many dealership emails are essentially dead on arrival. The entire marketing strategy is built around the dealership's internal needs rather than the customer's actual separation.
What do you mean by that specifically?
Well, think about how these campaigns are structured. It's a month-end sale or a holiday event, an inventory reduction push, or a manager special.
Right.
The dealership is essentially broadcasting its own calendar.
Let me stop you there because I want to explore that disconnect for a second.
Yeah.
As a business, you have to move metal, right?
Yeah.
You have quotas, you have aged inventory sitting on the lot, costing you floor plan money. If you have a problem, say, too many used SUVs, doesn't it make sense to blast your entire audience and say, hey, we have a massive sale on the SUVs this weekend?
I mean, I get the logic.
It's the megaphone approach, right? If you yell loud enough into a crowded room, someone is bound to raise their hand.
That megaphone approach is exactly where the strategy falls apart, though. Let's look at the psychology of the person actually receiving that email. The hard truth is that the customer does not care about the dealership's sales event.
Wow, okay.
They don't. They don't care that the general manager is trying to hit a quota, and they certainly don't care about moving aged inventory. The customer only cares about their own immediate problems.
That makes sense.
Right. So the dealership cares about service absorption, but the customer just wants to know if they can afford new brakes this month.
Right, totally different priorities.
Exactly. The dealership wants to maximize trade volume, while the customer is just wondering if their current car is reliable enough to make it through the winter.
So when you blast out big savings this weekend, it completely misses the mark because it doesn't intersect with any of those real-world anxieties or goals.
Precisely. The customer looks at a subject line like inventory reduction event and thinks, well, that sounds like every other email I get from every other store.
Yeah.
Or the dealership sends an email saying, we need your trade, and the customer immediately assumes you probably sent this to every single person in the city.
Which they did.
Right. It's not marketing anymore. It's just digital noise.
And the problem with blasting everyone is that the message becomes inherently irrelevant to almost everybody who receives it.
Yes, and that creates real long-term damage. I mean, a customer who bought a brand new vehicle from you 3 months ago shouldn't be getting the same email as someone who bought a used car 4 years ago.
Obviously not.
A lease customer has a totally different set of needs than a cash buyer. A service customer driving a 10-year-old vehicle is in a completely different psychological space than a new truck shopper.
Yeah, they're not even in the same universe.
Right. So when you send everyone everything, you are actively training your database to ignore you.
But The industry narrative right now is all about personalization.
Hmm.
If I walk the floor at any automotive conference, every single vendor is pitching some form of personalized email automation.
Oh, absolutely.
So are you saying those tools don't work, or that dealerships just aren't using them correctly?
I'm saying that the industry has fundamentally confused personalization with a cosmetic mail
A
merge.
mail merge.
Yeah. A lot of these vendors sell tools that just slap hi and then the first name at the top of a template.
Oh, right.
Putting the customer's name on a generic sales blast doesn't make the message relevant. If I send an email that says, "Hi, John, come down to our massive weekend blowout," John knows that email wasn't written for him.
He knows he's part of a mass distribution list.
Exactly.
It's fake personalization. It's this illusion of a one-to-one relationship without doing any of the actual heavy lifting.
Exactly. Real personalization is based entirely on relevance and context. It doesn't just use your name, it uses your situation.
Give me an example of that.
Real personalization sounds like, "Are you still driving your 2021 Silverado?"
Oh, I see.
Or, "Your lease may be coming up soon, and based on current market conditions, you have a few options." Or even, "Your current vehicle may be approaching the mileage where major repair costs start becoming a factor."
Wow. Yeah.
That is how you give a customer a tangible reason to pay attention.
Okay, but here is what I just don't understand. The CRM already holds all of that information.
It does.
The dealership knows when the lease is up. They know the customer bought a Silverado 3 years ago. They know the service history.
Everything.
So why on earth would a business sitting on that mountain of contextual data choose to ignore it and send a generic blast instead?
It feels like having the master key to a house, but choosing to just stand on the sidewalk and yell through a bullhorn.
It really does. And it comes down to laziness and honestly a reliance on manufactured urgency.
Yeah, because it takes strategic effort to segment a database based on mileage, equity, or service history. It takes zero effort to write Act Faust or Don't Miss Out.
I see.
Dealerships fall back on these fatigue-inducing phrases because it's easier. But when every single email is framed as an urgent, limited-time event, the customer quickly realizes that none of them are actually special.
The boy who cried wolf.
Exactly. You're constantly asking for their attention without ever providing value in return.
And what's wild to me is that the internal metrics at the dealership often mask this failure. Like, the vendor report comes in at the end of the month, and everyone sits around a conference table looking at open rates, click rates, delivery rates, and bounce rates.
And they stare at those numbers like they actually mean something tangible for the business.
Right.
But think about the reality on the ground. The BDC isn't having better conversations.
Hmm?
The service drive isn't seeing a measurable lift.
Yeah.
The sales floor doesn't feel any sudden influx of highly qualified in-market buyers.
So the general manager eventually just throws their hands up and says, email doesn't work anymore.
Exactly. But it's not that email doesn't work, it's that their email doesn't work. There is a massive difference.
I want to dig into those vendor reports a bit more because I think it highlights a systemic flaw in how success is measured. If I'm running a campaign and I get a high click-through rate, my marketing manager is going to tell me that campaign was a huge win. Why is that a false positive?
Because a click is a terrible goal.
Really?
Yes, a click does not mean the customer actually has the ability to buy a car. A click doesn't mean they have equity in their trade.
Right, they might just be browsing.
Exactly, and it certainly doesn't mean they're prepared to talk to a salesperson. When your entire email strategy is built around getting someone to click a giant red Shop Now button, you're just driving passive website traffic.
So what should the goal be then?
The goal of an outbound email from a dealership shouldn't be a click. It should be a conversation.
Which requires completely flipping the call to action then. You're not asking them to browse a digital lot, you're asking them a direct question.
Right. Instead of click here to see our inventory, the email should ask a question that requires a reply.
Like what?
Like, reply with your current monthly payment and let us know what you'd like it to be.
Oh, that's good.
Or if it's a service-focused email, reply if you'd like us to run a quick comparison of repair costs versus replacement options for your specific vehicle.
It's way more personal.
Yeah, you are turning the email from a broadcast tool into a lead context tool. You are inviting a human dialogue.
But let's play this out, because getting the customer to reply is really only half the battle. Let's say you do everything right. You send a highly relevant, context-rich email to a customer who has been servicing an older vehicle.
Okay.
The email says, "Hey, we noticed your car is approaching that mileage where repairs get expensive. Reply if you want to explore options to lower your overall monthly vehicle costs."
A great email.
Right. And the customer replies, yeah, my repair bills are killing me. What can we do? What happens next?
This is where we run into the most catastrophic operational failure in the modern dealership, the broken handoff.
Uh-oh.
That customer reply gets routed back into the CRM. A task is generated for a BDC agent or a floor salesperson. They pick up the phone, they call the customer, and the very first words out of their mouth are, "Hi, are you still interested in buying a car?"
Ugh, it's infuriating. As a consumer, nothing destroys my trust faster than that exact interaction.
It's terrible.
It's the equivalent of going to the doctor because you have a broken arm, and the moment you walk into the exam room, the doctor starts trying to sell you a pair of eyeglasses.
Yeah.
It proves they haven't listened to a single thing you've told them.
That doctor analogy is perfect because it highlights the complete destruction of context. The customer never raised their hand and said, "I want to buy a new car today."
No, they didn't.
They raised their hand to discuss the financial pain of their repair bills. But because the internal process is broken, the salesperson defaults to their generic script.
So what's the mechanism behind that failure? Is it just poor training, or is the CRM itself failing the salesperson?
It's usually a CRM notes problem.
Okay.
If the marketing department sends out a highly targeted campaign, but the only note that gets passed to the sales team is an automated flag that says customer clicked link or customer replied to email, that lead is functionally useless.
Wow.
The salesperson has zero context. They don't know the premise of the campaign. They don't know what offer was made, and they don't understand the specific friction point the customer is experiencing.
So, of course, they fall back on, are you ready to buy?
Yeah.
Because they are basically flying blind.
Yeah.
To fix the handoff, the internal communication has to be airtight. The lead note needs to say, this customer responded to a repair versus replace campaign based on their recent service history with their 2018 sedan. Follow up regarding their current mileage, acknowledge their recent repair concerns, and offer to show them what their vehicle is currently worth.
Exactly. When you arm the salesperson with that level of context, they don't have to sell, they just have to consult. The transition from the digital marketing message to the human conversation becomes completely seamless.
Okay, so that covers the targeted segment-driven campaigns.
Yeah.
But what about the broader communications? The stuff dealerships send out on a regular cadence just to stay top of mind.
Right.
I'm thinking specifically about the dealership newsletter. I get these all the time. And they usually look like a digital junk drawer.
Digital junk drawer is the most accurate description possible for those.
It really is.
Dealerships feel this bizarre obligation to send a monthly newsletter, and because they don't actually have a cohesive content strategy, they just cram everything into one template.
It's wild. You open it up, and there's a reminder about checking your tire pressure, a photo of the general manager at a local golf tournament, a spotlight on the new finance director, a random recipe for chili, and then like a tiny coupon for an oil change buried at the very bottom. Why is my car dealership sending me a chili recipe?
Right. They're doing it simply to fill space. They think that by offering a variety of random content, they'll magically appeal to everyone.
But they don't.
No. The modern consumer is incredibly busy and absolutely ruthless with their inbox. If an email doesn't immediately connect to their specific vehicle, their current payment situation, or an upcoming service need, they're going to delete it.
Instantly.
A dealership newsletter shouldn't try to be a lifestyle magazine. It should be a hyper-focused, practical piece of advice. Instead of a chili recipe, it should be an email strictly focused on, say, 3 things you need to know if your lease is ending in the next 6 months.
Let's talk about the service lane too, because that feels like a massive blind spot for a lot of stores. From what I've seen, most dealerships treat their service email list purely as a coupon distribution network.
Yes.
It's just a constant stream of $20 off a brake pad replacement or buy 3 tires, get 1 free.
Which is an incredibly short-sighted way to view your service customers. The service drive is the most consistent source of future sales opportunities a dealership has.
Because they're already in the building.
Exactly. Think about the psychology of a customer who brings in an older vehicle and gets handed a $3,000 estimate for a transmission replacement.
Ouch.
Dropping a $20 oil change coupon in their inbox 3 days later isn't just useless, it's insulting. They are in a moment of acute financial stress regarding their transportation.
So what's the mechanism for converting that service distress into an actual sales opportunity?
It requires integrating your service data with your sales marketing. That customer with the $3,000 repair estimate shouldn't get a generic coupon. They should get a targeted email acknowledging that they have some big decisions to make about their vehicle
Right.
and offering a no-pressure comparison of what it costs to continue repairing that aging car versus what a monthly payment would look like on a reliable replacement. That is a service-to-sales conversation that actually provides value and helps the customer solve a problem.
Let's pivot to another group sitting in that CRM goldmine, the abandoned leads. Every dealership has a massive list of people who submitted a web form, maybe answered one phone call, and then just ghosted.
Oh, yeah. Tons of them.
The standard operating procedure seems to be sending these passive-aggressive nagging emails, like just checking in, have you made a decision yet, are you still in the market?
And nobody likes being nagged, especially by a salesperson they've been actively avoiding.
Right.
Those check-in emails fail because they are entirely focused on the salesperson's desire to close a file. They don't offer the customer an easy, non-threatening way back into the conversation.
So how do you re-engage a ghosted lead without sounding desperate or annoying?
You have to give them a low-stakes reason to respond. Instead of asking if they made a decision, you acknowledge their original goal.
Make it about them.
Yes. You send a short email saying, did you ever find the specific SUV you were looking for, or are you still trying to stay around that $400 a month payment?
That's really good.
You aren't asking them to buy a car, you're just asking a simple binary question about their current status. It's conversational, it's relevant to their original inquiry, and it's incredibly easy for them to reply to.
I want to push back on this entire philosophy for a second, though, looking at it from the perspective of an aggressive general manager.
Okay, let's hear it.
If a dealership actually adopts this strategy, if they stop blasting their entire database and instead slice it up into these highly specific contextual segments, they are going to end up sending significantly fewer emails overall. Doesn't reducing your send volume mean fewer at-bats, which ultimately means fewer sales? It feels counterintuitive to shrink your marketing footprint.
That is the exact trap the industry is stuck in, assuming that volume equals visibility. But what is the hidden cost of a bad email?
Unsubscribes.
Worse, every single irrelevant, generic blast you send actively trains your database to ignore the next message. You are burning your own asset. Customers stop opening the emails, they unsubscribe, or even worse, they flag your domain as spam.
So the volume is actually toxic. It's degrading the health of the list.
Precisely. Frequency isn't a right you purchase when you buy a CRM software. Frequency must be earned by consistently providing value.
Right.
It is infinitely better to send 500 hyper-relevant emails that generate 50 actual replies than to blast 10,000 people just because it's a Tuesday and the marketing department wants to look busy.
Right.
Quality over quantity, because bad quantity permanently damages the relationship.
That brings us to a fascinating tactical point about what these emails should actually look like. Because you look at what vendors are pushing, it's all about these wildly over-designed templates. Massive hero banners, vehicle grids, flashing graphics, embedded videos, and a wall of legal fine print at the bottom.
They look incredibly polished, but they are entirely empty.
Empty.
Yes, a highly designed template immediately signals to the human brain that it is looking at an advertisement. And what do we do with advertisements in our inbox?
We ignore them.
We ignore them. They don't look like a communication from a human being. They look like a corporate flyer.
So the argument here is that the most effective dealership emails are actually plain text. No banners, no dealership logos, no flashing graphics.
None of it.
Just a simple message that looks like a real person sat down at their keyboard and typed it out specifically for you. Something like, "Hi, Nick. Are you still driving your 2021 Silverado? We are currently reviewing customers who might have options to lower their overall payment or upgrade with no money down. Reply with what you are currently driving."
That plain text approach strips away the corporate armor.
It strips away the armor and it hits the real pressure points. If we look at consumer psychology, people don't walk around all day thinking, "I want to buy a car today."
Very true.
The desire to buy a car is usually triggered by a pressure point. They're thinking, my monthly payment is stressing me out, or my car is spending way too much time in the shop, or I wonder if my truck is worth as much as my neighbor says his is.
So it's about solving a problem.
Yes, payment, reliability, and trade-in equity are the strongest conversational drivers.
And a plain text email addresses those drivers much more intimately than a flashy template ever could. Absolutely. When you send a plain text email that simply and directly addresses one of those specific pressures, you get replies. It is incredibly hard for a consumer to ignore a direct, relevant question from what appears to be a real person.
Right.
Conversely, it is effortless to ignore a heavily branded corporate template.
I can hear a dealer principal arguing this point right now, though. They spend tens of thousands of dollars a month cultivating a premium brand image. Doesn't sending a plain text email without all the branding and logos look unprofessional? Or even cheap?
That's a very common fear, but it fundamentally misunderstands what professionalism means to the modern consumer.
How so?
Professionalism isn't defined by glossy graphics or expensive branding. Professionalism is defined by relevance and a deep respect for the customer's time.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
A flashy template screams, "I am an advertisement, please ignore me." A plain, direct question feels like a one-on-one consultation. It feels like someone is actively looking out for your financial interests. The ultimate goal of professional communication is to elicit a response, and real messages get real replies.
It's such a profound shift in mindset. Dealership email marketing isn't dead at all. What is dead is bad dealership email marketing.
Exactly.
The winning strategy is to completely abandon the lazy, generic blasts that prioritize the dealership's inventory problems over the customer's reality. It's about utilizing the incredibly rich, contextual data that is already sitting right there in the CRM and focusing entirely on starting highly relevant, human-sounding conversations about the customer's actual pressures.
If I can leave you with a final thought to mull over, consider the emails you send in your own professional life, completely outside of the automotive industry. How often are you sending a polished, generic communication focused entirely on your own goals, your product, your timeline, your quota? And what would happen if you completely shifted your approach to plain text, context-rich questions focused entirely on the recipient's immediate problems?
That's powerful.
If you applied this dealership fix to your own outbox, how many of your ignored emails would suddenly turn into real, profitable opportunities?
That is a phenomenal question to end on, because the next time you sit down with your coffee and open that flooded inbox, you're going to see exactly who is blindly yelling into a megaphone and who is actually trying to start a meaningful conversation. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and we will catch you on the next one.